Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Nitro Racing League here on Xbox for NASCAR Heat 4. Hope you're all having a great day. Today we go to Kansas Speedway. It says Kentucky there because it didn't have it changed yet. But that was the starting order coming into this race. The stages for this race were 30, 60, then the race would end on 110. So actually stage 1 would end on 31, stage 2 ends on 61, and the race would end on 111. So we would get ready to go green here for Kansas, a track I was looking forward to quite a bit. This is one of the more fun tracks in NASCAR Heat 4. You get to run the top lane, but that was also a big problem at the same time because everyone was trying to obviously hog that top lane, and that would become an issue a little bit here and there in the race. Now it's come through down into turns 1 after starting in P3. It's our teammate Rocket there in the in 18th. Bryce as he leads out of turns 2, heading down the back straightaway. We had Christian in the 42 as well, right on his back bumper as we went down towards turn 3. Being on this inside is terrible. It's like a death sentence down here on the bottom because you can see already Bryce just hauls on by. So does Christian in the 42, then Matt in the 20, and then Andrew, our other teammate, and as well as Justin in the 10. So we were falling back really quickly on this bottom on this first and opening lap, but hoping just kind of to be able to find a spot to slide on in up top. And as Justin came by on the outside, this would be our opportunity to get to the top because RJ and the 8 went down to the bottom, thankfully. So we would get up to the top now, running on lap 3 as we went down into turns 1. Jay actually in the 95 got into my left rear and hit me into the wall a little bit. So a little unfortunate there as he would keep on going. No like issues between us after that. It was just a racing incident now as we went down towards turn 3. Surprisingly, that wouldn't be the first incident we had together though, as we slimed over the outside of the 31 car through turns 3 and turns 4. And you can see right here just how much everyone was wanting to hold that top lane, and that got really frustrating at times when you were much faster than another car in front of you, but they refused to move over because they knew how much of a disadvantage the bottom was. What you're about to see, Jay, who goes sliding up into the 10 of Justin there as he tried to make a big bold move on the bottom. Now as we're going to go up the middle there, a little bit of contact on the right rear from Justin as we would get to the outside of Jay, get past him, and then Andrew and RJ got together, and then Andrew comes down to the track right into the side of me, and that's not the first time we got into him either. Now as you will see that later on as we would climb back up to P5. RJ went to the middle lane, so I jumped up to the top through turns 3 and turns 4. We would climb back up into the 4th position when we came out of the corner, and we would have the momentum to get ahead of RJ as we came through across the line, just trying to get up to the next group of cars that was still led by Bryce, but we would actually get our first caution of the race, so we never got a chance to get up there under green flag conditions. Now as pretty much every wreck in this race, surprisingly, was in the back of the field, but we all came to the pit lane and then came out and we actually restarted P3. So we came out of the pit lane, obviously P3 right behind Bryce, and then obviously our other teammate Matt here as the JGR team has been fairly strong this season. Obviously we have one win a few races ago at Las Vegas, and then obviously last week we got P2 at Bristol behind RJ, who got his first ever Nitro win in the Cup Series. But we got clear of Karma going down the back straightaway, but then I decided to get pretty aggressive going down into turn 3 to see if I could make the inside work. I figured it was early in the race. I wanted to see exactly what we could do, and it just didn't work on that bottom. So we would have to just kind of settle in behind Bryce at this point. Now as we came through on lap 15, running behind him, like I said, stage 1 ends when we cross the line to hit lap 31. So keep that in mind. We're now past the halfway point of the stage as they were wrecking behind us, as you could see in the background, and that would unfortunately bring out another caution. So we would have to get ready. I think we came to pit road every single caution that came out in this race, so we would actually win the race off of the pit lane. There you see me come out just in front of Bryce in the 18, so we would control the next restart. Now as we get into the restart box, there's a few times where there was some games played on the restarts. I don't really like to play games on restarts. I just go as soon as I get to the box. Some people just like to wait till like the very end or in the middle and mess you over, and that just gets annoying. So I know how it feels to be the guy on the receiving end of someone trying to mess you over on a restart, so I certainly try to veer away from messing other people over. Now as we go down this back straightaway just in front of Justin in the 10 as we go down towards turn 3. He tries to make a move of the inside, but the inside just does not work. He gets a little bit ahead of me, but you can see the momentum on the exit of the corner just carries myself back in front of him as we would lead coming through to cross the line. And now as we went down into turn 3 now on lap 20, Bryce just behind me, and we actually get in the wall pretty good this time, and that's going to allow Bryce to get back in front as we we exit turns 4, and I would try to stay up to the top and let everyone go down to the bottom as Andrew, he would pass me. And right here, this is what got frustrating, because we had the speed to be leading, and we got stuck right here behind the 19 of Andrew, who wasn't really slow, but we definitely had a little more speed. There we see he actually, on his screen, I actually hit him in the left rear. You can see right there, I never touched him, and there was a bit of a net coating issue, it felt like, throughout this race, because a couple times right there in the corner on his screen I hit him, when on our screen you can clearly see I never touched him. And that wasn't the first time that we had kind of a net coating issue in this race. Now as we went down into turns 1 up the inside, sliding up in front of our teammate of Andrew, but he would cross us over and get to the inside down the back straightaways. We're side by side, letting Bryce drive away, and I will fully admit I was being way too aggressive against my teammate of Andrew, as we actually got hit in the back bumper there by the Ford, who had a bit of a leg spike, and somehow we keep it going with some decent momentum as I got a little bit loose there on the exit of turns 4, but we would hang on there. But like I said, I was being a little bit too aggressive with my teammate of Andrew for sure, and you're going to see another example of it right here, trying to get up the outside, and we made contact, and both of us going to the wall down this back straightaway. Now as we went down towards turns 3, and the biggest frustration for me was at this point I knew I was faster than Andrew, but he wouldn't get out of the way, and that's what I got frustrated with, and that's why I was being too aggressive. I would fully admit I was way too aggressive at this point in the race. This first stage for me was definitely a wake-up call on how I needed to approach the rest of it. Now as we came to on lap 28, running the outside again, Andrew though this time slides up in front of me, and we get into the back of him there as he kind of certainly, I felt that was on him. Now as we went down this back straightaway, thankfully we would all keep it clean and keep going, but at this point you can see Bryce, he had driven away now as we went down towards turns 3 and turns 4, so it was no contest for Bryce now as we were approaching just 2 laps to go in the stage. We come through right to the final lap down the back straightaway, myself and Andrew still second and third. This time though, Andrew sends it up the inside through turns 3 on the final lap of the stage, and he hits us into the wall. We go now out of turns 4, and respectfully he actually got out of the throttle, realizing what he had done, and we would come through to cross the line in P2 there in stage 1. So Bryce wins the stage, we get P2 here in stage 1 as we stayed in the throttle down towards turns 1. Now as that would end the stage, and we would get ready for stage 2. We would come out of the pit lane in P2 and get ready to restart P2 just like where we finished in the stages. We kind of nearly jumped the start, but we get very even against our teammate of Bryce in the 18. But like I said, that first stage was definitely a wake-up call on how I needed to approach the rest of this race. I felt like I was pretty good after that. Like, we still got P2 in the stage, but I wasn't really happy with how I raced my teammates, like the 19 of Andrew. Now as he actually gets into the side of the 18 of Bryce there as we go down this back straightaway, a little bit of contact between them. Now as the 18 hits the wall a little bit there down the back straightaway as we go down into turns 3, and then you see Mad Karma gets up the inside now as Bryce tries to stay on the outside of Andrew, but he's going to try and squeeze him. Maybe he sticks it up the outside, and a really good move there by the 18 of Bryce. Now as I was trying to stay on his bumper and actually nearly hooked him, and the left rears we get doored by the 4. And we lose a ton of time from that. He immediately said in party chat that was 100% on him, and he did not mean to do it, so there was no love lost there. Now it came to on lap 37. Keep in mind, stage 2 ends on lap 61. There's a little bit of contact with the 10 who came down the track into the side of us, as unfortunately for him, he would fall back. He was struggling, Justin was struggling with the handling quite a bit in this race, and so was Jay, who was right in front of us at this point as we went down towards turns 1 on lap 38. He's going up the track a little bit. Looks like he thought he was about to hit the wall for a moment. Now as the 18 loses the momentum, Bryce falling back a little bit there as we're back up in the top 5, and we would continue moving forwards up to P4, passing RJ and going up the inside of Jay, and on his screen again I hit Jay like he hit me earlier in the race, but as you can tell on my screen I never touched him, so that, like I said, that net coding thing was definitely a factor in this race. Now as I would try to get to the outside of the 4 now as we went down towards turns 1, thankfully he would give me the lane here into the corner, and we would be able to pounce on it because just anything that's not the top is such a disadvantage. We would just blow right on by. Now as it came through at a turns 2 back up into P2 with about 20 laps to go, and now as it came to on lap 48, myself and Andrew had both driven away because of green flag pit stops actually happening as we went down towards turns 3 up the outside of him. Andrew decided he was going to come into the pit lane right here, and this is kind of where I made a mistake. I think I stayed out too long, and then we would come into the pit lane the next lap here. As you can see me exiting, we took 4 tires, 2 cans of fuel, and obviously we were about P2 battling for P1 when the cycle started. But there you see Andrew driving right on by, and there goes the 18 of Bryce, and that wasn't the only one because here comes the 4, and then you can just see a whole line of cars now with about 10 or so laps to go on the stage that are driving by us. the 95 of Jay, of course, the 31 of Sports Guy, so I knew we would have to have some ground to make up. We came to lap 51, getting to the outside of Sports Guy and giving me the room, thankfully. Now as we went down this back straightaway, he's a very respectful racer I've found so far as well here in the league now, as I'm pretty sure he's new this season, as we would get to the inside of Jay as well, pass him, and then we would run down the 42 of Christian, get to the left rear of him as we came out of turns 4, heading down this front straightaway. I think there was more net coating right there too. You can clearly see I wasn't even near his left rear, but on his screen I think I hit him. Now as we came to on lap 59, at this point just 2 laps to go in the stage, going up the inside of the 4 and the 18 as we exit turn 2, and the 4 is going to cross over to the bottom. I decided to give him the lane, but he went to the bottom. I think he got loose, so obviously I pounced and get up to the top as quickly as I could as we go down into turn 3. At this point Andrew had enough of a gap that it wasn't going to be a factor for any of us to catch him, so now it was just about can we pass Bryce in the 18 to get second for stage 1 and 2. Now as we start this final lap here in stage 2, he's covering the top, don't blame him at all. Now as we go down towards turns 1, you got to cover that top lane here tonight in Kansas, otherwise you're just going to go backwards as we come through turns 1 and 2 on this final lap here in the second stage. We've done a great job this season executing with stage points, and it looks like we're going to do the same here again. Now I was going to try and make a move at least into turn 3 like we tried to do on Bryce earlier in the race for the lead, and you can clearly see here it's not going to work now, as Andrew though would exit turns 4. He's going to come through to win stage 2 as we're going to come through to cross the line to get P3 just behind Bryce, as the 4 got 4th. I don't know who got P5. It was 42 of Christian who got P5 in the second stage. So we get P3, another good chunk of points, and get right back into the action here for the start of stage 3, where we would get P2, and then there you can see what I was talking about with restart games right there at the start of this third and final stage. That is one of the most annoying things I find about this type of league racing, because we know we're going to have cautions throughout this final stage, but yeah, we still play restart games when it really doesn't matter. But now we come through out of turn 2 behind the 42 of Christian, so not a good restart for us. And then we had RJ up the inside, 3 wide actually, as we went down towards turn 3, looking like he might get into the side of us there, but we actually get through there perfectly fine now through turns 3 and turn 4, running in P4 behind the 42 of Christian. As the 4 behind us got in the wall a little bit, but we came through now on lap 65. Keep in mind this race ends on once we cross the line hitting lap 111, so we go up the inside of Christian, who actually tagged the wall there out of turns 4. We would clear him and take over P3 now, as Andrew and Bryce got into it, battling here for the lead a little bit there. As we went down the back straightaway, it looked like Andrew got in the wall, but I decided to give him a big shot to the bumper, hoping to help him out now as we went down towards turns 3, just trying to make sure we don't run into the back of him. The 18 of Bryce sent it up the inside, and it pays off now as we exit turns 4. He takes the lead, a little bit of contact between the 2 teammates in front of us now as we're right on the back bumper of Bryce. We're going to go up the outside 3 wide, and then I decided to back out of it because I knew it probably wasn't a great idea. Now it was Christian in the lead as the 19 and the 18, they get together through turns 1. So now I get to the inside as we come through out of turns 2, heading down this back straightaway. Crazy racing for the lead now, as it's going to be side by side between Andrew and Christian for the lead as we go down into turns 3, and then Bryce is going to get in there as well. As once again I think there was a tiny bit of net code there, because you can see we got close, but we didn't touch on my screen, but it was pretty evident on his screen there was contact now as we go down this front straightaway, running P3, crossing the line, hitting lap 70. Christian would continue to try and put the pressure on Andrew. He would get just a little bit too low, and that would allow me to get to the outside through turns 1 and turns 2, and then we would be able to fight back and climb up into the second position down this back straightaway, heading down into turn 3. As we would continue to run behind Andrew now as we came through on lap 74, and then actually we would end up getting a caution at this point here, so we would get ready to come to the pit lane and see what we could do. We would restart in P2 once again and just get right back into the action now as we went down towards turns 1. Bryce was in P3. I should mention this was like Bryce's, I think, second race of the season. You can see he's certainly one of the stronger contenders here today in Kansas as he sent it up the inside of Andrew down this back straightaways. We're going to give our JGR teammate a shove down into turn 3 as Matt in the 20s trying to get back up into the picture. Now as Bryce send it up the inside again, but it's not going to quite work like he had hoped it would. Now as we would be able to carry the momentum on the exit of turns 4 to get in front of him and take back the second position now as it came through on lap 81. Now it was Matt in the 20 who had climbed up to P3, but you can see we're slowing down because we ended up getting another caution. Like I said, surprisingly, all the cautions were coming from the back of the field as we would actually come to the pit lane. I came out, I think, P2, but we had a failed attempt at a restart, so I didn't bother showing that, so we got back going again now from P4 as we went down towards turns 1 and down this back straightaway. Bryce got back up the inside, MJ there in the number 3, now up here in second as Andrew goes up the track and gets into the side of me, and we just barely get into the wall, but somehow keep it off for the most part and carry the momentum still a little bit at least down this front straightaway now as Sports Guy gets her inside. Andrew just drives straight into the wall there through the trial. Now as Jay's going to get up into the mix as well just behind us as we come through turns 1 and turns 2, and Jay gets into my left rear and he's going to get us just into the wall now as we're sideways on the exit of turn 2 as he just barely tagged me, and that unfortunately hurt us as we're going to be 3 wide with the affiliate teammate and then the 19 of Andrew, our other teammate who full sends. He actually hit the apron, he slides up, hits me again, and now we're in the wall again as we exit turn 4, but he put me in the wall really good as we go down this front straightaway and we get nailed from behind by RJ, and the caution's going to come out as we go spinning down the front straightaway. I thought we finally got that mess over with, and I just got destroyed from behind and spun through the infield, but the caution obviously came out. We would get right back into the action starting from the back of the field after pit stops. This time, only about 21 or so laps to go here in the race in Kansas. So running out of time, but we know we have the speed to be at least a top 2, top 3 car now as we go down RJ making a little bit of contact there with the 18 of Bryce as we would go down this back straightaway. Then it looked like he had a moment there as he came out of turns 2 as we climbed up now to P7. Obviously, RJ won last week in Bristol. Now as you would get up the inside of the 42 of Christian on lap 95, you see up in front of us our teammates Andrew and Matt battling for the lead as we would slide up, and someone got in the wall behind us. It was the 4 actually. Now as we exit turn 2 and then Christian hits the wall, and then the 31 Sports Guy gives me a nice shove down the back straightaway, which helped us quite a bit. Now as we went down into turn 3, Andrew and Karma side by side, we would get up to just behind them as we went down towards turn 3. Andrew looks to the inside of Matt now as we come through turn 3. He gets into the wall in front of us there in the 20, and we're going to pounce on the opportunity now, getting to the outside of Andrew and Karma near, and now he briefly just makes contact with us, squeezes us barely into the wall, but we carry the momentum across the line with about 14 laps or around there to go. Now as we came through turns 1, we would carry the momentum through the corner and we would clear the 20 of Matt, and all of a sudden we had driven away, put a little bit of a gap between these guys, thankfully. Now as we would come through on lap 99 and green flag pit stops had started to cycle through again with just barely over 10 laps to go, so we need to make sure we don't speed here. We get just under the speed limit. We would only take 2 tires, so it was an 8.2 second pit stop now as we would come through to exit the pit lane. There you saw the 3 of MJ. He was stretching the pit cycle out quite a bit, maybe hoping for a caution or something, but we would thankfully be able to come out in front of all of our teammates, Matt in the 20, Andrew in the 19. So once MJ would pit, we would cycle out as the leader. As you can see right here on lap 101, Andrew would come out of the pit lane. We had pitted, I think, a lap or so before him, and we came through to pass him and take P2 over down this back straightaway. He was the car I was most worried about on this pit cycle, and thankfully we had a good gap over him. And on lap 106, just a handful of laps to go at this point, MJ would come into the pit lane, which means we would cycle through as the leader and things would stay green because we came through now approaching the final lap here in Kansas, and we had a fairly big lead at this point. The 19 of Andrew was working with the 4, trying to run us down, but you can see we have enough of a gap now as we come through to start the final lap here in Kansas. We didn't win any stages, but we found ourselves in the right position in the final moments of this race as we go down into turns 1 and 2 for the final time, and I actually make a mistake here and just put it straight in the wall, bending it, and thankfully we didn't crash the car, so we were okay now as we had enough of a gap that it didn't matter. Heading down this back straightaway now for the final time here in Kansas. No one even close to put on the pressure here on this final lap, so it's just cruising through turn 3 as I played it really safe here, making sure I didn't hit the wall again, running down a little lower than usual as we exit turn 4. We're going to come through to get win number 2 on the season here at Kansas Speedway. A nice finally getting a win at a track like Kansas because I haven't won here in the past, so one of my favorite tracks obviously on the schedule, at least in NASCAR Heat 4 to race at, so very happy to pick up the win here in Kansas, and now we get to do our fun little burnout now, as I will show you guys the points after this race. Thankfully now the points are getting regularly updated, but as always, if you guys did enjoy this episode, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Those would all be very, very appreciated. And like I said, I'm going to show you guys the points here in just a minute as we continue to do the burnout now. We stop it. So here's the points. We lead the points by 24 over Andrew in second, and then we got Matt in P3. Obviously, we got 2 wins on the season, a bunch of stage points and playoff points, which is looking good for us. You can pause the video to see the rest of the grid and the schedule, but I will see you guys in the next one. So thank you all for watching, and have yourselves a great day.